I want to introduce you to Kate. Kate's a healing arts practitioner specializing in craniosacral therapy. Kate McKinnon has been using touch to support her clients in restoring their health and wellness and assessing their physical potential for the last 30 years. She's diplomate certified in craniosacral therapy and is a healing from the core presenter and master practitioner. Kate is also a licensed physical therapist in California and in the United Kingdom. She authored From My Hands and Heart, Achieving Health and Balance with Craniosacral Therapy, and co-authored Elements of a Successful Therapeutic Business. Kate has been in private practice for the last 18 years in Livermore, in California. If you want to find out more about Kate, please go to www.kmckinnon.com. Now, Robin Scherer, a health educator for 30 years and healing arts practitioner for more than 2 decades. Robin Scherer advocates for touch that is informed by deep respect for our unique lived experiences and acknowledgement of the stressors society and culture place upon us. She promotes skillful, attuned touch because it provides resources our body can use immediately to calm the nervous system and release the effects of stress, injury, and trauma. Robin has lectured and published extensively on the value of attuned touch and is co-author of Elements of a Successful Therapeutic Business. A certified massage therapist in California, Robin is also diplomate certified in craniosacral therapy and is also a healing from the core presenter and master practitioner. To find out more about Robin, go to www.livinginthebody.net. So with that, I'm going to let the last few people in here, and I'm going to go ahead and hand the floor over to Kate and Robin. Thanks so much, Kate and Robin, for being here. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you both.
Thank you very much. Okay, just clicking all these different things that are on my screen. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I think I've clicked all the different pieces. And welcome everybody, and we're so happy to be a part of this In Touch series, and I feel very honored to be a part of this. And so we just want to say hi.
Really good to be with you, everyone. Hello.
So we're going to kick off about what inspired us to write this book. And it really began with Robin and I talking about how much our colleagues, how skilled our colleagues are, and how often we were hearing the struggle with running the business point of view. And we all know that the world needs this work that we do, this craniosacral therapy. And from our observation, it's not really the skill, it's more some of our limiting thoughts around running a business. So we put our heads together and talked about what is it from a practitioner's standpoint helps us have successful businesses, and what is it that are the elements that support that? What is it that comes together and essentially supports us in doing the work that we love? And so we first off started teaching it as an online class, and we ran that a number of times and loved doing it, loved meeting our colleagues. And what we noticed from running those classes, that there were these common themes. So we were not only had put together our material, we were also hearing what it was that our colleagues were struggling with, where they needed support. So from all of that material, we then sat down sort of naively, because we thought we had everything there at our fingertips, just write it into a book. But of course, the book was even, got us to dig in even more, and putting it together in this written form helped us get even clearer about what it was that we wanted to share. Again, more from this practitioner's standpoint, and not, we're not trained coaches in any shape or form. There's lots of material out there that's helpful in that coaching realm, but we really wanted to share from our sort of lived experience and what we have learned from it. So it's being conscious, I think, of what it is that are our current issues, and helping us to make good choices. And when we were preparing for this talk, Robin and I, we realized how much this clarity of writing this book had helped us in the pandemic. So we realized that what we had created really, really had helped us adapt to this new situation of finding ourselves in the pandemic and shifting and changing and adapting to that. And I'm going to hand it over to Robin to share our next inspiration.
All right, Kate, let's see if I can move the slides forward.
There we go.
Yep, and if it moves forward again, I'll move it back. While we were writing the book and really digging into what it was that helped us create a business that thrived and that we were able to continue with over time, we realized that we were really influenced by Dr. John's treatment approach for craniosacral therapy. We each remembered writing about it for our diplomate exams and really digging into it. You can find a schematic of that treatment approach in the Green Book, which is on the slide there, and it's titled A Model for the Patient Facilitator Connection. A quote from that section is, ultimately, there's a blending and an openness of communication between the various levels of consciousness and the hands, the total body, the emotions, the spirit, and the awareness of this therapeutic facilitator. Right? It sounds just like CST, right? Because it is. We took that to mean that the more aware we are, the less we keep hidden from ourselves, the better we can be at being present and effective as facilitators for our clients. And when we look at business, we're inviting you to join us in taking an honest look at the stories and the attitudes that you bring to your business. When we're aware of those stories and attitudes, and we all have them, we all have attitudes that are less than accurate, we're less likely to bring those distortions into the treatment space. And we recognize that our circumstances are not exactly yours. We each have a unique set of circumstances and a unique way of approaching our practices. So rather than telling you what to do, we're going to explore questions around therapeutic business. There's no one right way to do it. Through this talk, we're going to be following the structure of the book. So we'll be talking about business container, communication, money and worth, and ethics. And as Justin said at the top of the hour, please have pen and paper handy, jot down notes on what sparks you as we go along here, and especially pay attention to your body. We invite you to notice what excites you. Maybe there'll be something you want to try, something that feels like a good stretch, or that might make you a little nervous but feel like a healthy challenge. And notice too what doesn't feel like a fit, which you can just ignore and let go right on by. And then also sensations of recognition that don't feel so great, like maybe a signal that you're not quite in integrity around some part of your business, a sign to explore that and move toward more integrity. So for me, that sensation is a quick catch of breath in my throat and a sensation of my stomach dropping, which is not pleasant at all. But I've befriended it because it's a sign for me to turn toward whatever that is and explore it further. So our questions, which will go by pretty quickly, are just prompts to get you thinking and feeling. We don't expect you to have an answer to any of them. We certainly don't expect you to answer them in writing as we're going along, but we hope you'll want to continue exploring them. They're all questions that we ask each other and ourselves because our businesses aren't machines. We're all in process. Our businesses change as we change. So in addition to thinking about attitudes we might have toward business, we ask ourselves, who am I when I'm in my integrity? What are my therapeutic values? How does my business align with them? Dr. John also wrote in that section in the Green Book, be sure your head is in the right space to therapeutically facilitate. If it isn't, you may facilitate the establishment of defenses that can be very difficult to overcome later. One of the ways that Kate and I make it easier to have our heads in the right space is to have our business details handled, clearly communicated to our clients. And that's what we call the business container. Off to you, Kate.
Thank you, Robin. Okay, all right. When I click it, it's not moving. Robin, could you click it?
Let's see.
Okay, there we go.
Whoops.
I'm back.
Okay.
So we're going to look at business container, and I just love what this creates for us, because I think it really is the way that it holds us as therapists. So what we've put on here is, when the details of our business are sorted out, we can clearly communicate that structure to our clients, and they feel held in that. And then everyone's focus is on the therapy at hand, which is basically what we love to do. So that's it helps us bring our focus to that. So the container really means that we have, like Robin was saying, these fewer distractions. It then facilitates us to have this increased therapeutic presence and our mind in the place that we want it. So all of the elements that create our container are thinking about the where. So the where is our place, right? The place that we work from. Is it meeting our needs? So is that space meeting all the requirements that we like? And those are individual, and that's where Robin and I are saying, jot down notes as we talk, because if things ping for you, they're important. So when you're thinking about your space, do you like to have that space to yourself? Are you okay with sharing space? Do you want a waiting room? Do you like to have natural light coming in? There are all these different things that are all individual to us. So think about where it is that best works for you. I mean, all of us end up making some kind of compromise in our space, and it does, and it will change with time. But if we have that knowing within us what it is that supports us in our space, that is good to know. And then the when. So this is really, when do you like to work? Are you a morning person? Are you an afternoon, evening person? Do you like to have space in your schedule between clients, or do you like to do them back to back? And again, when Robin and I reviewed all of this, we found that over time it varies. And there's just great value whether you're just starting out in your business, or you've been in practice for a while, to keep it alive, keep it fresh, and keep reviewing it, because then you keep that energy circulating. And we all know movement is what we want. So keep looking at the way you have structured your time and what suits you and what works best for you. And who is it that you are working with or want to work with? This is not so much like deciding on necessarily a niche. We think that really craniosacral therapy, although it is getting a lot more known, is kind of niche in and of itself. But what is the population that you like to work with? So do you work with young children? Then your space needs to be configured for that. Do you need wheelchair accessibility for your population? Are you going to work with people who have insurance or are in the middle of an insurance claim? Are you working with clients that you are doing a lot of liaising with other practitioners, so very much part of a team. So just identifying who those clients are, what needs come with those clients too, and ensuring that you have that all set within your container too. So the how of your business is how you're going to, what works in the most streamlined way for you in terms of clients making appointments. And there are even more options available that are, you can have an online system. You can still use pen and paper. That's just as effective. Again, where there is nothing, there are a few ideas that we have that we'll share along the way, but basically all options, like look at all of them, what work for you. I still, I have colleagues that use pen and paper and it's fantastic. It works for them. I use an online system, so does Robin, and we both made those shifts in the last few years. What kind of forms? Do you have all your forms ready? What kind of intake form do you use? Taking payments, and we'll dig into that more because there's a lot around money. How are you going to take payments? Are you going to provide receipts? So all of these, really it's a nuts and bolts, provides and creates this container that's safe for you and safe for your clients. So you want to make sure that you handle all of those so that they feel held, and you're really looking at that. And I'll move, let's see, I want to have another go at moving this. Oh, move too far ahead. There we go. So your journaling prompts for this are, it's just gonna shift. Whoopsie, did I just, okay, sorry. I was just trying to move my view here so that, oh, there we go. So that I can read my full slide. So the business container is, so here's some prompts for you. What parts of my business container are holding me well, and what needs shoring up, and how do I know that? So when we're looking at that is, if we have the analogy of a sieve, right? So you may notice as I was talking through some of that there are areas you're like, oh, yes, that is an issue for me. So in other words, you've got a leak, right? So there's a hole in your container. So you've got a drainage of energy from there. So what do you need to do to fill up that short up, fill in that hole? So I was talking through some of the shifts we've made, ways to you accept payment. What's your session length is the other one. How long are you going to work for? Are you going to offer different options? You may, if you work with children, have a particular way in which you structure your session length. You may offer 2 different types of session length. I would say, just recently I went through a big review of all my forms and I updated all of them. So, taking a look and see if that is working in a streamlined way for you. So that's container. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
I do not. Thank you, Kate. All right. And like we said, these prompts are going to be up for just a short time. Let's see if my screen sharing actually recognizes that I want to move this slide forward. Okay, will you forward the slide for me?
Oh my goodness, it's very, very temperamental, this little thing. Oh, there we go, we did it.
Okay, so moving on to communication. Oh, what happened here? Can you share your screen again, folks, Kate?
I am going to share the screen. And we will go to view, slideshow. All right, so I'm going to move us forwards.
Okay, fantastic. There we are. Thanks, Kate. Appreciate it. So remember early on when both Kate and I said we won't be telling you what to do because we're all unique and we all have to approach business in our own unique ways. here comes the exception to that rule for us. There are a few things that we feel are absolutely necessary for building a business. We all need a basic business card, even though so much of our world is online. People love to have something tangible to take and to pass on to other folks. We all need a basic website, just one page with ways to contact you so folks can find you. The IAHP offer of a basic website is fantastic and more than enough for what you need for building a business. And most of all, and what most of our colleagues we found really shy away from, and something both Kate and I have had to work up to, is to be willing to be in conversation with people we both know and don't know about our work. That's what developing word of mouth really is. It's being in community and demonstrating that we're ready to be of service. So more than having the right words to say, like more than having an elevator speech that you might have heard of, it's about listening to people and really striving to understand their needs. Because once we've heard someone's story and can reflect that back to them, that helps us know that we've heard them correctly, and it also builds trust with people. And if we've listened to someone's story, we might have an idea of what they would benefit from. And at that point, it makes sense to talk about what we do and why we're so passionate about it. And both Kate and I are really passionate about craniosacral therapy. And then we can talk about how it might help folks. So again, people's needs come first and what we do comes second. Because even though there is much more familiarity and knowledge about craniosacral therapy and visceral manipulation and lymphatic drainage and all of the modalities that we practice, no one really cares that Kate and I practice craniosacral therapy. For most people in the world, maybe those are words that make a little bit of sense. They're usually just weird syllables to people, honestly, still. What people care about is how we can help them. And when we listen to people and listen to what they need, we'll find that some people are great fits for us. And sometimes they'll be great fits for other people we know, other practitioners, or a totally different modality. Referring out to other skilled practitioners has been one of the most effective ways for us to build our businesses. Can I get a nod with that, Kate? Do you agree? Yeah. And it's not because those other practitioners refer to us. I'm not talking about a referral network. It's really honestly trying to find a good fit for the person who's in front of us, who we were brave enough to talk to and ask some questions of. By making a solid referral for people, we build trust. And the person we talk to, who we sent to another practitioner, rather than trying to convince them to see us, they then refer their son, their coworker, their friend, because we're trustworthy and we've demonstrated some expertise and caring. We've demonstrated that we've put their well-being first, and that's a really good way for good fits to begin finding us. Let's see if I can move this forward one. I can't. Would you forward the slides for me, Kate? Thanks.
Yeah, I'll do it. And I'm just going to wait a minute because I think what happened, we were both clicking it. So maybe I'll just be in charge of the clicker.
I will give you a beep. Yes. So as we're waiting for the slide to forward, here are some journaling prompts for you. Like what is your intention when you talk to people about your business? Has it been till now been an intention to get clients, or have you really felt that you're coming from a place of wanting to be of service? And how does that feel different in your body? And how does that feel different when you think about talking to people? How might you change the ways you engage with people? Have you been focusing on having an elevator speech at the ready that will tell them all the things about craniosacral therapy? Might there be a different approach that might feel more comfortable? And then, because this is a two-way street, fit is something that's important. Both we need to be a good fit for our clients. Our clients also really need to be a good fit for us. So I think maybe the most important question on this slide is, what qualities do you want in a client? And how would you identify which clients are really good fits? those are the basics. And Kate, if you would move the slide forward. After the basics are in place, right? After your business container is really holding well, so it's not like a sieve, you found the places where things are leaking through. Maybe you've offered too many different kinds of appointments and now you've narrowed that down to like a schedule that really holds you well. You're comfortable talking with people in your community about what you do and how it can help them. The words come easily. You've got a really solid client focus. Once you have clients coming in and some momentum in your business, then it's time, we think, that you have some space to think about what's next. So newsletters, social media posts, writing, giving talks, these are great creative outlets for practitioners whose work is already humming along, excuse me, and for practitioners who are building a larger client list just beyond subsistence, just beyond paying the bills. Not a single one of these is necessary to build a business. These are great creative outlets to start cultivating a real point of view around your practice, around noticing the deep whys of why you practice. Each one of them, though, takes time and effort, and most cost some money to do well, right? If we're going to write, well, during the time we're writing, we won't be seeing clients. And I don't know about you, but writing for me is a little bit of useful torture. It's really hard. And I don't want to use my relaxation time to be writing. That's work for me. So it needs to come from my work schedule. Does that make sense, Kate? Am I on? Yep. And so I need to be able to take some time either from seeing clients or know that I have time set aside in my schedule that I don't need to be filling in with clients in order to pay my bills, to be able to really be creative and to build that. That's one of the reasons why we decided in writing the book that newsletters, social media, writing, they're not really best to focus on as we're building a business. That's when focus really feel is most effective on building relationships in our community. And then even when we have that time and space, we might want to consider why we'd want to invest in a particular outlet. And Kate, you told me a story about a woman you see, a cosmetologist, right? Can I share that story?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I might not get it exactly right. If I get any details wrong that are important, let me know. I guess she had just gotten some advice or taken a class, and she's like, oh yeah, really have to add to my website, really have to update my website and make it bigger and tell people more things. But in the breath before, she had been telling you how she's so full, she's turning clients away. She doesn't have room for more clients. And what I remember is that you asked her and you said, and you need to add to your website because?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, but I've got to do that. That's what I've been told to do. And you just said you were full, you're turning clients away. So you need to spend time on a website because, and then, right, had a discussion about what else she might like to do with her time.
Right, exactly. Exactly, because if it's not your creative expression and it doesn't spark you with joy to do that, so if it's not your particular creative outlet, you got to have a good why as to why you want to spend time and money on a website.
Exactly. So these ways of communicating, these creative outlets are fantastic for reflecting on where we are in our work, staying in touch with a big client list, especially when we're not able to see many clients really regularly. This helps them know what we're up to. And Kate, if you'll move this forward.
Yep.
So when you're thinking of expanding into social media, newsletters, videos, writing, you might want to consider some of these questions as guides to help you find areas you want to explore. Like, you know, who am I in my work? What do I promise my clients? And why is that important? what kinds of information would be useful to my clients? And then what's the deep why behind my practice? And this is a piece that we can kind of add onto the business container. Once all the nuts and bolts of a business are put in place, that deep why really helps guide us in all of our decisions. Once we have that sense of exactly why we're practicing, what drives us to have this as a business, as a vocation, it makes all of the decisions around the nuts and bolts, how much we work, how often we work, the kinds of people we see, where we work, much easier, much clearer to find. All right, pass it off to you, Kate.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, so our next element is money and worth. And I would be surprised if there's any of us on this call together who does not have something, some story, something around money, and it's so closely related to worth and our own feeling of worth. I'm going to start us off with a quote from Suzanne Scurlock. Being of service and being successful are not mutually exclusive. And I think so many of us tend to be so big-hearted, very much givers, have a few more challenges around receiving, that this can get out of balance. But there is no reason why we can't be very successful, and that includes whatever it is our financial goal is, that we can't achieve that. So, you know, it's really stepping in and sort of challenging step by step all the stories that come up for us. And I would say, you know, for all of us, we're going to have different financial, what we're calling a sweet spot. So whatever it is that is our financial requirement to nurture us, take care of us as the therapist, there's going to be different for all of us. And so, you know, just be really honest with yourself about what that is, and don't be afraid of naming that. And we can find that by just being very honest about our money, about being trustworthy with money, knowing what our needs are, and really claiming the true worth of our work. All of us have invested a huge amount of time, money in our training, and I think all of us are very active in continuing our training and investing in that. And so money supports that, right? In taking that next step. So check in so what comes into all of this is owning our own money stories. Like, what is my limiting belief? What is it that gets stirred up? Often it's from our childhood, right? So our experiences of how money flowed when we were children in our home, and then from that point on, and owning it, looking at it. It can be quite tempting to look at what we think our clients' money story is, or what they're sharing with us, like how much they're telling us they can afford to pay. And again, all of us have a story, all of us have money stories, and we often hear them when we have our client on the table because it's to do with what they're working on. But just separating that out, that's their story, and it's what they're processing, and that has nothing to do with the rate that we set for ourselves. And again, it goes back to creating that safe container, right? So we're saying to our clients, look, I'll be responsible for, you know, what I charge and how I go about that, and you don't need to worry about it. That's kind of what we're saying to our clients. So how can we sort of take away all of that anxiety and edginess around payments? And just check in that you're not making any assumption about your client's ability to pay. I've had so many experiences of this, and I remember somebody pushing me pretty hard about her ability to pay. And at that time, it was important for me to just, to receive the money to pay my basic needs, my rent, my financial obligations at home. And so that's what I shared with her. And then she ultimately decided to come for an appointment and drove up in a really fancy car. So it reassured me that, yeah, no, this is not what I should be doing, distracting myself with what I think somebody else can pay. So take a look at your own comfort level on that. And some tricky places, right? There's lots of tricky places when it comes to our money and worth. There's a lot to consider. So take a look at your stance on trading. How much trading do you want to do? The other option is to receive other people's work, but you decide you're going to pay for it and not get into a trading situation. There's value to both of those. And I know Robin and I have discussed this quite a bit, and our experiences is often it's good to go and receive somebody's work and pay for it and then be complete, and then decide from that point on whether you want to get into a trading agreement with somebody, and for it to feel equal, right? So you don't want to have places where you're building up resentment about anything. Bartering, you may decide to barter again, look at whether this is an even balance of giving and receiving. Sliding scales we do have an opinion on, because what we invite you to do is take a look at, are you making the client responsible for how much they pay you? So on a sliding scale, really you're asking them to decide. So you want to think about that. Like, is that something you want to do? You may feel completely comfortable doing a sliding scale and you have your reasons for it, which is, again, fantastic. But, just take a good look at that. Do you want to do coupons, discount packages? They're all good options. They are all additional work. There's more tracking to be involved in that. And again, you may be skilled in that and it's not a problem and you want to do it. For somebody like myself, that is not my strong suit. So I tend to steer away from that kind of offering. Where do you stand on your pro bono work? Do you want to set it up so that you have a certain number of slots per month, or you may decide you don't want to do pro bono work in your craniosacral practice. You do a volunteer work in a completely different setting. So look at all of it and look at where you sit and where you feel comfortable. And always interesting when we look at when and how I approach raising my rates. And again, just create as much clarity around that, make it as simple as possible. We generally don't need to explain why we're raising our rates, but we're just doing it and offering all the information somebody needs. And you can certainly offer to be in dialogue and communication if this raises a financial need for anybody. Again, but just give it a lot of clarity and make it as simple as possible. So, few journaling prompts for you on this. What are your financial needs and financial goals, and are they being met? What are your stories that you tell yourself about money? And what factors go into setting your rates? So write out whatever came up for you on that. And then we're going to go into our final element with Robin.
All right, Kate, let's see if I can. Thanks for forwarding that for me. All right, so You'll remember Dr. John's paradigm for craniosacral therapy for being a therapeutic facilitator. The areas we leave unexamined in our business are the places where we're most likely to lose our integrity. Yeah. So when we set up our business, we want to set up as robust a business container as possible. And then life happens and therapy practice happens and business challenges come up. So at regular intervals, I know Kate and I both take time to reconsider how we act with, how we interact with our clients, how we interact with our colleagues, our professional organizations, and the government. So it's time to take a clear-eyed look at all the places in these interactions where we feel uneasy or things feel tricky or murky. And then we can shore them up with awareness and attention and a commitment to ethical practice. For most of us, that's going to mean committing to getting on the table. So less is in the shadow for ourselves. And many of us will be working on our hand skills, getting mentoring around business skills, therapy skills, committing to building a wider and solid referral network. So we're not the only therapists our clients depend on when they're in need. Some of us will, for the first time, be committing to paying our taxes or getting a business license and kind of getting right with that side of things. Other ethical considerations, it's really important for us to know our skill level and our level of certification, what our scope of practice is. All of the best therapists we know get mentoring regularly and have for years and continue to get it no matter what level of certification or education we've achieved. And we get our own work. And again, having that varied referral network, all of these things together really help us keep an ethical therapeutic practice. Some journaling prompts. Kate, if you would.
Yep, I'll move you forwards.
Thank you. Questions to ask. How do I honor client confidentiality? Are there any areas in the ways that I'm talking either to clients or about clients that could be tightened up or improved? Along with that, what kinds of mentoring or supervision would be beneficial? What professional organizations are meaningful to me? And that goes beyond just the benefits we get and the insurance we get. And why would we want to be part of professional organizations? The big one, what's my scope of practice? And especially with craniosacral therapy, we all come to it with varying levels of licensure and certification. Some of us are lay people practicing this work. One very quick example is that Kate is a licensed physical therapist. I'm a certified massage therapist. When we are doing craniosacral therapy, we're both diplomate certified, but Kate has a wider scope of practice and more stringent requirements than I do as a massage therapist. That's just a truth of the matter. If there's a client who's in hospital, most likely Kate is going to have greater access to that client than I will, is going to have better and easier rapport with the medical staff there than I will. I will be seen much more as a visitor and Kate will be seen much more as a colleague. And so when we have clients in common who perhaps go into the hospital, that's a consideration about who should see them, just for ease of getting access to that client and giving them the best possible care. Anything to say about that, Kate?
Yeah, and I think, when we were talking about, these examples, it's, I think what we see then is all of our elements that we've discussed start to come into play. There's the ethical piece and, definitely money and worth come in, and our communication, it's like we start touching into all of them, and that's where we start to see how all of these elements come together. Yeah, I think it's a great example.
Yeah, so it sounds like we have moved on to the next slide.
Yeah, so we're going to sum up now, and we're going to, so that we have time to look at your questions that are coming into the chat box. So I want to just say that I think that all of us are learning and growing and thriving together. And I think that just building our community so that we can support one another is so, so vital. And, our business growth really comes from time and experience and investing in yourself and your craft, that we're definitely not in competition. Although the full definition, like if we look at the root of competition, is compétir, which actually means striving together. So maybe we're in competition, but it's where we're striving together to lift each other up and build that community, which is what's going to help us. And I think that the more we do that, that our businesses, what Robin and I know is that our businesses have sustained us over major and minor changes over, almost 20 years of being in practice. So yeah, it works. And you're going to help wrap things up a little more by getting this one.
So we're hoping that all of our questions, the journaling prompts that we raced through, and we acknowledge that we raced through them, they were simply prompts for you to think, and they will be replayable on Facebook later, right? Those are calls to action. Those are calls to review what's going on in your business and in your practice, and see if there are areas where you might be able to shore things up or get a clearer view. What we found is that the more clarity we have in around these issues, the more easily our business flows, and honestly, the more successful we become. We also really encourage you to set a book club up with colleagues. You can discuss a chapter at each meeting and really dig into what works for you. You could partner with a colleague and actually get some accountability around these things. Kate and I have done that with each other. We've done that with others of our colleagues. It's really useful to have someone not to pull on you, but to simply say, hey, you said you were going to be looking at how you take client notes. What have you come to with that? How's it working for you? And what's changed in your business? Have you noticed if anything's changed now that you've been taking notes in this new way? We also want to really stress to you that having a successful business isn't luck, and it's not magic. It's step by conscious step. It's tracking, paying attention, and really nurturing the parts of our businesses where it's difficult for us, getting help, getting clarity, and then moving forward.
Yes.
Right.
So we just
Thanks
want
so
to
much.
thank you all so much for being on the call. And I'm going to stop our share so that we can take a look what's in the chat box here and open this up. Justin, do you want us just to go ahead with that, or?
Wow, that was terrific. Wonderfully done. We've prepped a bit on this, of course, and Kate and Robin said we work really well with each other and off of each other, and I was amazed to share this space with one another and then have some technical things, and you didn't miss beats, so that was terrific. And I also want to say that was awesome. Even my position, as many of you know, if you know me, I'm not a practitioner myself, but what I do at the Institute, I found a lot of value in all of that. So that was really great for me. I feel like I'm going to be able to help our therapists a lot as well. I do want to, if you want to look at the questions in the chat, I'm just going to tell about the book. Everyone, a lot of this is stemmed, I'm sure, from the book and what you're going to get into it. So I'm going to just share my screen real quick, if I may. Oh, I'm having a little tech. So while Kate and Robin are looking in the chat, I'm just going to tell you that we do offer the elements of a successful therapeutic business. It's $16.95 plus shipping, which I'm sure is worth every single penny after watching that. Feel free to email me right now or whenever to get that. One thing I'll say, because I know that was a lot of really awesome information. I had the chat going to me. There's people chatting to me about if they missed something or whatnot. Again, this was streamed onto our Facebook page, on Upledger Institute International Facebook page. You can go there whether you're a member or not and view this segment. You can view any of the other In Touch segments that were on the Upledger Institute page as well. But if you're here with us on the Zoom and you registered, you're also going to receive a recording. We'll send that to you as well. That will be available for you for a period of time. It does expire, so don't expect for it to be there forever, but I think it's probably 15 days or 30 days. So that's coming to your email because I did have some questions. Now I'm going to get back to Kate and Robin, and I'm going to spotlight each of them. And if this question started about 7:45 there, if you're still looking, and I'm going to just go ahead and spotlight you both, and you can work to, oh, excuse me, where's Robin? All right, there you go.
There we are. There we are.
Okay. Well, Kate, I see a question I'd love to dig into right away.
Okay, great.
Okay, because I think three or four folks are, it's like, how do I market to doctors and hospitals, and how do I get referrals? And my sincere wish for you is to stop thinking of marketing to places and start looking at the relationships that you have. So for instance, referrals that come to me through physicians come because I did a few things. And Kate, please chime in here at any point. One is that when a client came to me, I'll give you a case study of someone who came to me for migraines and started getting really good results and started not needing her medication as much, went to her neurologist and they agreed to cut back. At that point, when we were talking about what her neurologist thought about it, and I wasn't expecting this client to talk to her neurologist about what treatment she was receiving, but I said, hey, you've demonstrated that you've gotten a benefit here. Your physician has lowered your medication. Would you care to co-write a letter to your physician with me? Great. We wrote a letter, dear Dr. So-and-so, I've had the privilege of working with client X for 5 visits spread out over a 2-month period. And I know that recently she's been able to lower her medication. If there's anything I can share with you from my notes, that went with a permission slip to discuss with, signed with the client. And I sent it to that physician, and I continue to receive referrals from that physician and their colleagues to this day.
Yeah. And we very purposefully named those chapters in our book communication and not marketing, because it is about how we communicate and meet the need of either the client or, in this case, the doctor. We're just offering a line of communication. Again, and this is the CST paradigm, with as little agenda as possible. This isn't necessarily about getting the referral, but it does absolutely enhance the client's experience and the benefit they stand to receive. So I think, when we're coming from that place, there is just that natural flow. So, and the same with dentists. The dentists are also a great referral source for us. And, if it comes from this place of just really sharing our passion and, being able to really get clear on the results that our clients are getting, for ourselves, for our own clinical learning, and for our clients' benefit of tracking and noting those results. And I think things naturally flow from that point of view. And I would also say, there is value, and it's wonderful if our doctors and dentists and the more standard medical community get on board. That's fantastic. And I think both Robin and I know that it's really the enthusiasm of our clients sharing with their friends and family that is the sustainer of our business. I love the fact that we have that potential to educate in that broader sense, but in terms of building a sustainable business, and again, this comes back to what Robin was saying, and I think I read some of that in the chat. Sharing about cranial sacral therapy, Robin is really good at this. She will say, really be listening for, what is this person wanting to receive? Is it because they have digestive issues? Is it because they have low back pain? And what's my experience, like what is their need, and then being able to convey that, yeah, the craniosacral, I think, is going to be a good fit. We're going to be able to offer some change here. So most of our clients don't really care about how we do that, like what is the mechanism or the explanation of CST. Certainly not on that first treatment. They may begin to get more curious about it as they continue to receive the work. Then they're asking like educated questions, questions that come from within them about they have that curiosity. To me, those sort of, those questions about how do we reach out to doctors and how do we explain the work sort of root back to the same place.
Right. It's how to be of service again. But you made me remember a story when you mentioned dentists, because when I was a beginning massage therapist, had just done, and everyone hold their breath here, 120 hours, and I was allowed to practice in California way back when. My dentist asked me how how graphic design was going, because I was publications manager for a consulting firm back then. And with fingers in my mouth and instruments, I said, well, actually, what I'm doing now is, and he said, oh, you're doing massage? Huh. You want to come in and work on my staff? Now, if I hadn't been brave enough to begin talking about the fact that I was just baby beginner in something, I would never have gotten that opportunity. That one office, first of all, it was my first gig. I went there twice a month, did chair massage. 5 of the hygienists and the front office staff came to my office. They then transitioned as I transitioned into craniosacral therapy full-time, became complete evangelists for the work. That practice began referring people. But notice I didn't reach out to them. I just shared what I was up to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it really did snowball from there. And we could call that luck, except that I've had the same kind of luck, and so have you, Kate, with just about every other encounter we've had in the grocery store line, picking up kids from school.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you just find your community, whatever your community is. Mine began with my swimming group. I was just talking in the hot tub about what I do, and there began my first few clients. I would like to talk a little bit, I'm just seeing a little thread here about how you establish your rate, like how do you decide. So I'm going to give you a little quick rundown on, I think it's always worthwhile sitting down and looking at what you need to, how many hours you have available, right? Number one. Look at your week and break it down and look at, okay, I can work this number of hours and therefore see X number of clients a week. So if you charge $100, that's 100 times whatever it is, 16 or whatever year is. So that's how much you're going to bring in, right? And then probably put it into your month, because most of us have monthly financial commitments. That is your very basic amount. Like, you want to make sure you have a total of your how much you need to earn to be in business, right? What is your absolute baseline to cover your bills, all of the things that you're required and obligated to meet financially. And then look at, okay, I have this many hours, so I can earn this amount if I charge that rate. At the very minimum, they've got to meet each other, right? Then you can certainly ask around, like, what are your colleagues charging? You can gain that information. That is more information you can bring to the table. But also look at, when you're including your base rate, like, how much time are you needing off? Do you commit to taking X number of classes in a year, and how much does that cost, including, like, if you're self-employed, any day off is a loss of income. So you got to note that too. And then set your rate. I mean, you can set whatever rate you want. I mean, certainly you value how much experience you have, because that's also part of it, what you're bringing to, you know, what you're bringing within yourself. People can charge a higher rate than somebody who's experienced, just because so-and-so down the road charges $20 less than you want to charge for a rate. Don't be sort of blocked by that, because that person may be working on their own money issue and about to raise their rates. They may have some other financial situation that you're unaware of. So only use that as a guide. Like, really take a look what's inside of you about the rate you should charge. Robin, any thoughts?
I agree with that. My head is already on the next question that I want to answer, but I want to come back and sit with this for just 2 seconds if people will be patient around it. There's also a felt sense, I think, around rates that we get to, right? So if we're basing, I know when I looked around, and I was told when I started my practice, you'll always have to work nights, you'll always have to work weekends, and no one makes a living wage as a massage therapist. None of those three things are true. So when we think about common wisdom around what to charge or how to charge or when to work, you know, I'm echoing you, Kate. Take a look at what your needs are. Take a look at how you want to live your life. Set your rates based on that. We're not saying buy a yacht with your rates necessarily, unless that is your goal, and then off you go. You know, I know in the book we spend more time looking at what are the questions around what a right livelihood is, what feels like an honest and equal exchange for the service that we're providing. It's a big question. It's a big question. And if it's all right, I want to move on to 2 maybe slightly smaller questions that we could put together. One was, how do you tell people, how do you decide to stop taking new clients if you're booked out a month or 2, and how has communication changed in the pandemic? I know that when I'm booked out a month or 2, that doesn't mean I'm not taking new clients. It just means they won't be able to get in for some time. And I communicate that really clearly on my website and on my voicemail. And I know you've done the same, Kate. Like, just beware, you know this, and that they're, so I will, I do my best to always return calls when people call, and I tell them right up front before we even talk, like, hey, it takes about 9 weeks, 10 weeks to get in to see me. If that's not going to work, I have great people to refer you to. Yeah. What do you say about that, Kate?
Yeah, and you know, it obviously things vary, and so sometimes I'll put more of a break on having to field, you know, that takes time to return calls and emails. And I do put on my message, you know, like, I prefer to use email, because just with my family structure, getting that time to make calls at a good time of day is challenging. So again, that's just communicating your own needs.
And I have to be honest here, in the last couple of months, I have had to put something on my website and my voicemail that says I'm not able to return emails and phone calls, just because of how impacted my practice is right now. And when that changes, I will change. And folks are welcome to keep checking in with my website. I also don't keep a wait list, and I don't know that you do either, Kate. Right, folks are welcome to check in, but really my practice goes as it goes and stays fresh that way. And a lot of that communication change happened around the pandemic, when at first I wasn't able to see people in person at all, and then I needed to communicate a lot of changes in my practice, just so that I could help keep everyone safe.
Yeah. And thank you for all the thank yous.